Oh, darling?
Yes, darling?
Oh, nothing, darling. Just darling, darling.
Darling?
Yes, darling?
You do still love me, don't you, darling?
Of course I do, darling. What a silly question.
Yes. I am an old silly.
You certainly are. But that's why I love you so much.
Oh, and that's why I love you so much, because you're just a silly old silly too.
Yes, we are a right pair of sillies, aren't we,
Yes.
darling? Yes.
Ah. Darling,
Yes, darling?
I saw that horrid old cat again today.
Oh, darling, that must have been awful.
Yes, it was, darling. Awfully awful. I was frightfully afraid.
Were you, darling?
Yes, frightfully afraid. It was frightful.
I can imagine, darling. Cats are frightfully frightful, aren't they?
Yes, frightfully. I wish you had been here to protect me.
But I'm always here to protect you, darling. Where else would I have been?
You were over there at that silly old food bowl, stuffing your beak, as usual.
But, darling, if you had just called...
But I couldn't call, darling. I was too frightened. I was scared to call in case the horrid old cat heard me and eated me all up.
But you don't need to be frightened of that, you silly old thing. I'll protect you.
Will you, darling?
Of course, darling, always, darling. Why, I would never let that naughty old cat harm even a single hair on your pretty little head.
But I haven't any hairs on my pretty little head, darling.
No, of course not, darling. I don't know why I said that. I am an old silly.
You are a silly. Frightfully silly.
Frightfully silly?
Yes, frightfully.
I am a frightful old silly, it's true. But it's also true, darling, that I will always protect you, and I would never let that naughty old cat harm even a single feather on your silly little lovely old head.
Old, darling?
Young, darling. Silly little lovely young head.
So what would you do, darling, to protect me?
Why, I'd kill him, darling. If that nasty old cat tried to hurt you, I would kill him stone dead. 9 times over, if that's what it took.
Would you, darling? Would you kill that nasty old pussy cat?
Of course, darling.
You would, darling? You would kill that frightfully frightful, ugly old scary cat just for me?
I would, darling.
Go on, then.
What?
Kill him.
Kill him?
Yes, kill him.
But, darling...
Kill that nasty old pussy cat. For me.
Well...
Yes, darling.
I would, darling, but of course...
Yes, darling.
Well, he's out there.
Yes, darling. And
we're in here, darling.
Yes, darling.
Well, if he's out there...
Yes, darling.
And we're in here...
Yes, darling.
Well, I can't really kill him, can I, darling?
I see.
I mean, if I could.
I see.
Well, I would, of course, darling. In a flash if I could, but...
Yes, darling.
I'm trapped in here. If only.
Darling?
Yes, darling?
Did I show you what I discovered, darling? The other day, darling?
I'm not sure, darling. What was it, darling?
Well, you know that little door thingy they open when they put food and water in, darling?
Yes, darling?
Well, I can open it, darling.
What?
Yes, I can open it, darling. I just pinch the little hooky bit in my beak and...
You can piss right off. I am not going to kill the bloody cat. Are you mad? God. I'm going to get some seed. You come in.